Entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. PGA Championship, one and done. Picks, preview, bets, an all-encompassing preview for the year's second major. Reminder to everyone out there to smash the like button for the episode. And you know what? Every day this week for all of the shows, I'm going to do a Q&A. You got a question about the PGA Championship? You dump it down in the comment section. I'll get to them later on that night, probably around 8 p.m. Eastern time. Let's say I'll go and answer some questions in the YouTube chat, so please go check that out and leave your questions if you have any. Maybe you know exactly who's going to win. If you do know that, please tell me so I don't lose a ton of money this week at the year's second major. Either way, I do have money for all of you out there, and because of a typo I put into the newsletter, I'm now giving away $600 instead of $500. So big win for all of you out there. 300, 200, 100 to 1, 2, 3. Those gold, silver, and bronze, which we'll be doing tomorrow, by the way, with Rob Pizzola and Cam Stewart for the best bets, giving away the money on Wednesday as well. But to get into the draw, 15 ballots into the draw, rating and review, and subscription on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You do both, you got 30 ballots in the draw. That stuff is easy, so please go do that. Even if you have done it before, bump your name back up to the top of the list. 8 ballots if you subscribe to the free Mayo Media Network newsletter. We'll have PGA Championship information all week long, and every time that you see a tweet come out about the PGA Championship, retweet it, share it on Facebook, re-TikTok it, or whatever you do, boom. That's also a ballot in the draw. So myriad ways to get yourself in, to get your hands on some cold, hard cash. Additionally, the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League is already 40% full, I think, so you better get your spot right now if you want to get your hands on some of the over $100,000 of guaranteed rake-free money. Yeah, no rake in that tournament. 3 max entry, $15 to play. It's down in the description right now. Geoff Fienberg, did you bet on Jason Day last week?
No. It said Koreans and Aussies. Just picked the wrong ones.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, Tom Kim and Adam Scott. Sub those guys up for Siwoo and Jason Day. All of a sudden, you've got a lot more money in your bank account.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had a few guys. Should have made that bet, I guess, when Spieth withdrew, made other bets. But you know, for my like normal go, it was a pretty low exposure week, and it was a low watch week. Although I did watch the last bit on Sunday. It's great to see Jason win. Sort of felt like that was trending for a long time. I didn't bet it, and I feel bad for a lot of people that seem to have been riding this Jason Day, even at bad numbers in elevated events. Or you could debate bad numbers. He played pretty consistently well for a bit up until the last like tournament and a half. But all those people that were betting him at those silly numbers, maybe even at the Masters and the Players, weren't really there for the 19 to 1s this week. So those are the guys I feel bad for. It's tough to get like kicked in the nuts before a major. Wasn't me. I just lost money though, just like them.
Oh yeah, just like every other week, just dumping some money. Although I think I improved a little bit in the one and done by having Adam Scott come through for me. It was just Saturday for Adam Scott. Absolutely buried him. He played well for 3 of the 4 rounds. It was a lot akin to what Siwoo did a week ago at the Wells Fargo Championship, where he played great for 3 rounds and just had one disaster round that completely blew up his spot. So I thought that was really intriguing as well. Maybe there's something to look at for that going into the PGA Championship. But we cannot make any bets, although I have already, and I'm very terrified of what is going to come out of this person's mouth. In his name, the man who does most of the cursing on this show, Tim ANDERCURSED.
Tim ANDERCURSED.
That's not my name.
You are also our live insider. So I actually went back and watched like the final 5 or so holes of Live Tulsa just to get myself a feel for some of these guys coming into the event. But I know you spent all Sunday afternoon watching it because you were lipping the leaderboard at the Byron Nelson. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't care about Marty Dew and Austin Eckroat. And then all of a sudden it was like Day, Scott, and Scheffler at the top of the leaderboard.
Sure. I mean, if you say so. I didn't watch much of the PGA Tour. I tended yesterday to mostly watch flipping between the basketball game and the Tulsa event. Dramatic, good finish, good golf. What can I say? It was nice to see.
Jeff, did you watch
Cream
much
also
of-
rose to the top there too.
Well, I mean, there's only like 6 good players, so of course they're going to be at the top.
You keep saying that, but anyway.
Jeff, did you know that Tim is all in on Live now? Do you know he once spent 4.5 hours from the top of Mount Pius lecturing myself and our other playing partner on the golf course about how Live is an atrocity, how if you watch it you're complicit, and now look at him.
Yeah, listen, it's one of because Tim rarely changes his opinion, like rarely. Like there's a potential for later in the show for me to give him a hard time for how stubborn he is, but how really I've got stripes. I can change. I can grow with the times much more than Tim. So I'm surprised that he, when he sort of plants his flag, he'll just keep standing there. Nothing wrong with that.
I keep my moral position that Live is bad and that the players who went there made a bad decision. But it is what it is at this point. And so you have to treat the world as you find it. And what we find is that at least half the best players in the world are on this tour right now. And the golf is compelling. And some of the stuff is not working, but some of it is working. And let's not lie to ourselves and pretend like something isn't happening that's happening. Yep. That does everyone a disservice. This show was here to cover golf, not the PGA Tour exclusively. And so let's talk about it. You
make some fair points. You also make some disingenuous points, but I agree that there's some really good players there, and golf is a casual watch. And Dustin, Brooks, Phil, Cam Smith, I love Neiman, Patrick Reed, those guys are hitting a golf shot. Like my eyes don't turn away. So make it accessible and people, more people will be able to find it. That's fine. It's an alternative. I don't really care much for team concept, but it is what it is. Well, I love DJ.
Jeff, how do you figure that the Live guys are going to fare at the PGA Championship versus how they did at the Masters, where they all performed, some of them at least, finished very well?
I think it'll be the exact same. Like the just sheer law of numbers. They have too many good players for all of them to play poorly. Golf says there's no way all of them play well, and a few of them will play up or better to the talent level we know they have. That's just what will happen. I get that the players that played well at the Masters, as we sort of spoke about after, are players that either are historically major dominant and have played well at the Masters before, like Brooks, or multiple time past champion like Phil or Reed. But I think that there are probably a finite number of golfers on earth who can handle this golf course potentially, and a small handful of them play on Live.
What do you make of it, Tim? Do you think that the momentum built through Live Tulsa and Live Singapore and Live Adelaide is going to carry through into Oak Hill?
I think if you're playing good golf and it's at a high competitive level, yes. I don't think it'll be a situation where you just turn the switch on the way Phil could at Augusta because he knows that course inside and out. If you've been playing good golf the last 3 or 4 events, then yeah, there's no good reason to believe that you won't be competitive at Oak Hill. I'm still believing, I say it a lot, that Phil Kiowa win still feels like a Truman Show like moment in life. But, that almost lays credence to a win is a win, confidence for really good players, like say a Jason Day or like a Dustin Johnson. Like just winning and having that confident feeling can do wonders. Phil won a Champions Tour event before Kiowa. And I don't know how to quantify that versus Live. I'd argue winning Live Tulsa's a lot harder than winning a Champions Tour event, but it just got the mood right. And then you saw DJ, obviously won a lot of money, but he's like, I'm playing great. DJ rarely says that, even when he's playing great. So, yeah, and Brooks is the major monster. So I'm expecting them to be there, I think. As I saw somebody post this week, this is the 16th consecutive year that Dustin Johnson has won at least one tour event in his career.
When me and Pat started, that was like an 8-year stat or a 10-year stat, and it was a really small list of guys with multiple wins in years. It was almost like DJ, Phil, and Bill Haas hung on that list for a while, I want to say, at the onset of mine and Pat's relationship.
Did DJ win a Live event last year?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. So
he was dominant, wasn't he?
Yeah, he won the championship last year. He won the
Well, like-
overall championship.
I mean,
He probably won the most live.
I tried to tune in, but then I got sucked too much into an episode of Blackish when the golf should have been on, so that was difficult for me.
Well, you know what? But this happened to the NFL during its inception too. They would cut away from games for movies and such. So it's unfortunate, but these things do happen.
It still happens to the NHL.
Yeah, or they put their games on at 11 o'clock at night so that their best star can't be seen by anybody who isn't an insomniac or lives west of the Mississippi.
Okay, well, you're here for the reason to give us the picks, the top three for you at the PGA Championship. And will they all be live guys like they were at the Masters?
Actually, no, they are not. For Glory's last shot, I have 3 picks.
I don't believe it's Glory's last shot anymore. Now that it's
No,
second
it's
in the
not.
rotation.
It's Glory's second shot or whatever the moniker is for the PGA Championship. Still a major. No. I think at one point that the moniker was "This is Major," which was just pathetic. But anyway, I like this tournament year in, year out. I like that they've made it harder in the last few years. This used to be like the easiest of the majors, and you could see scorers run. Jason Day won at 20 under par at Whistling Straits at one point. Like, this used to be no majors are easy, but this used to be the easiest for the most part, and they've certainly ratcheted up the intensity, which I think is fun. We'll see at Oak Hill whether that's the case. Anyway, my third pick is Shane Lowry. I have him as my bronze pick. The weather is supposed to be kind of windy, kind of cold. That yells Irishman to me. Shane Lowry, he's playing the type of golf, and I think you're getting good odds on him. So he's my third pick. My second pick is Taylor Gooch. I think Taylor Gooch is playing some of the best golf in the world right now. He's won 2 events, and the odds reflect it. Like, he doesn't have like crazy long odds. Like, it wouldn't be unreasonable at all to expect Taylor Gooch in the form that he's been in the last 2 months to come in here and be competitive at Oak Hill. You don't need to be a super long driver of the golf ball. I remember this place. It's a lot of long irons in, and the par 5s are unreachable in 2. So, I don't mind him here. And my winner is Dustin Johnson. I think DJ didn't play great at Augusta. You wouldn't know because you saw like 4 shots of him on CBS the entire tournament, but seemed to be playing better golf particularly last week. He's a superstar golfer. His odds are not quite reflecting it. You're getting I think you're getting real value getting DJ at 28-1 at the same odds as shorter odds than Tony Finau, or longer odds than Tony Finau, who, while he's a marvelous golfer, like Dustin Johnson's a better golfer in almost every sense of the word. And you're getting longer odds with Dustin Johnson. Great. Anyway, so Dustin's my one and done, and he's my pick to win.
He's your one and done as well. Okay. Very few places to use Dustin Johnson in the one and done, so this is actually a pretty good spot for it. I was pretty out on DJ coming into the week. That is reflected in the Friday show that I recorded with Kenny and Ben, Jeff. But even after he shanked that shot off the tee, it was a pretty impressive performance from him. It's what you would want to see coming into a tournament like this. And CUST makes the point about Oak Hill, the long irons. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of long irons, but the course is completely different from basically any time that you've seen it in the past 60 years, just with so much of the trees being gone at the course. The fairways widen just a little bit, the rough a little bit thicker, and every single one of the greens completely redesigned, new grass, made much smaller, and 3 new holes added that were taken away from the last time we saw it. I went back and watched a lot of the Jason Duffner and Jim Furyk stuff from Oak Hill, and it did actually play out exactly how I remember it, which very rarely happens in my memories because I forget everything. But Duffner must have stiffed 17 shots to a foot that week. It was crazy.
That is my memory of that Duffner just going unconscious pin stalking. I watched pretty much, I don't think any moments of 2013. I myself got into so many rabbit holes in YouTube content on this course, from some of the stuff that's been put out in the last week, from the flyovers and all that stuff, to, as I even told you, getting caught in historical stuff, having almost nothing to do with it, learning about the nurseries on the course and the fella that planted those thousands of trees, and how he ordered the acorn shells from the great forests of London and from Asia and from all over the world, and just spread them out all over that course. And then I got even watching newsreel clips of the initial ripping up of the old course, of the East Course, and how sad people were that the trees that they loved were gone, and And as that renovation was like taking shape, and watching like just local newsreel footage of that, and how it was really coming along, and to see Andrew Green in one of the pieces, who's the redesign architect, when asked exactly how many trees they took away, instead of wanting to probably name an astronomical amount, he said the perfect number. But they seem to have restored some magic. And I always buy into the hyperbole of these great American golf courses as we get to play the majors on them. And again, this is will be a love affair week for Oak Hill, and it's well deserved.
Now, what I remember about this
magical
place,
monster of a layout.
I remember that the par threes were tough, that the par fives weren't reachable, but that meant everybody was birdieing them because everyone was sticking wedges close. And the last time they played was August, when it was hot and the balls were rolling. This is May. As those of us who live in the Northeast know, golf in May is nothing like golf in August. So
And it's been a wet season.
yeah, so ratchet back all the numbers that, I mean, you have to adjust, I suppose, for the last 10 years of advancement of technology. So maybe you just want to keep the numbers almost exactly where they are from 2013 to 2023, given the dampness and the coldness compared to what they did in 2023. I bet maybe that's probably what I would advise. But it is a different golf course, both in temperature and in design. But I remember the fives being super easy because everyone got there with a short wedge, and the threes being super tough.
Yeah, there's two par threes that measure over 230 yards, and they had a bogey or worse rate over 30% and a birdie rate of under 10%. So if you just kind of tread water on those, like if you can tread water essentially on like the 4 really hard holes, because 17 and 18 are super difficult as well, although Sean McKeel would beg to differ. The real deal Sean McKeel, when he stuffed that 7-iron in there to go tap in for his 2003 PGA Championship win at Oak Hill. But, you know, historically, those ones play pretty difficult. I like that Jeff's YouTube rabbit holes are nothing sinister. They're actually kind of heartwarming.
Oh, yeah, I don't get into sinister
That's
stuff.
what Rumble is for.
No, oh my God.
How is Rumble doing after the Trump town hall? Can you fill us in on that?
Only see now you put it out there, and then people who don't hear those other anecdotes of this moment be like, what the hell? So I now have to say, just my favorite, like, old school Howard Stern YouTube uploader got kicked off of YouTube, and he went to Rumble. And I guess people follow Trump to Rumble. I follow Eric the Midget to Rumble.
If you had to rank, Tim, the best PGA championships of, I wouldn't say our lifetime, because, I mean, what are you really going to remember from when you're 3 years old? But of like recent memory, past 15 years, 20 years or so, what 3 stand out to you? Because Jeff was posting about this, and although it wasn't my favorite PGA championship, the Valhalla where Rory beat Phil.
Where they stole it from Phil by forcing the darkness on. Yes, that one. That was a great leaderboard too, but yeah, the one they stole from Phil. That's a great one.
I just remember that in the back of my head, and they didn't really steal it from Phil. Rory had to play in exactly the same conditions, as you may recall.
Stole it from Ricky too. Ricky and Phil both were.
Ricky didn't even beat Phil that week.
Valhalla, Harding Park.
Really, Harding Park. Which one?
The last one in 2020 when they played at Harding Park. Why? In part because going on to the back 9, I think there was like an 8-way tie, or like they were like 8 guys between one stroke. It was high drama. It was the first major championship in like a calendar year because of the coronavirus restrictions. Like everything was conspiring to make that a great tournament, and it happened to be a great one, and it had an iconic shot, Morikawa's tee shot on the par 4. There's a drivable par 4 at Oak Hill, if I remember, too.
It's not.
So maybe we'll see an iconic moment here.
There's a short par 4 at Oak Hill, but I went through it in the research show, which is up on Mayo Media Network right now, is that it's protected by 3. It's an elevated tee. It's protected by 3 bunkers in the front. And these greens are super tiny, especially that one, that even if you carry it, I don't think that you can actually land it on the green. Like you would have to have to hit like a 335-yard sky 5-wood in order to get it to stick. So there's bunkers protecting it at the front, so you can't run anything up to it, and it's uphill. And then on the left side of it, or I guess if you're facing it, the left side of it is a complete runoff area. The back is a runoff area, and to the right is just super thick rough. Like I don't think people are going to be taking shots at it. I could be wrong, but it just seems much easier. You could basically go wedge and get it there.
So one of the main characteristics is, for a course this long, the greens are quite small relative to other courses, I guess, that would be of this length.
Well, I mean, listen, it's just under what, 7,400 yards or 7,500 yards? I believe
it's a par 70, right?
Yeah, it's a par 70, but you have
That's long for a par 70.
It is, but you have two par 3s that are 230 and 245.
Yeah, and play those in the cold mornings, and those are playing. Dude, I wouldn't even get there with driver or something.
Well, but I mean but it's a lot like Riviera in that way too. It's sort of like the opposite of Riviera, because you see Riviera's length, and you're like, oh well, that's not all that long for a par 71, except you forget like the massive elevation swings at Riviera, and you have one really short par 5 and one really short par 4. You take those out of the mix, like, oh, all these holes are like 495 yards. It's not so much the case here. There are some shorter par 4s. There's 6, I think, over 460 yards, but there's only 1 over 500 yards. Like it can be this course, if it does play softer, which I'm not sure that it will until Saturday when the rain is coming, that if guys are really going to, I don't know. I don't think they're going to tear it apart unless there's super soggy conditions.
I'm with you. The other PGA is 2021. Those are the 3.
Yeah, that one. What do you think, Jeff? Because the Phil one is pretty iconic, just because the crowds following him at Kiowa. One of my favorite ones was the Keimer 2010 at Whistling Straits, when Dustin grounded his club and the fake bunker.
That's what everyone remembers it for, right? Is Dustin throwing it away?
Hey,
no one remembers.
I remember the Keimer putt down the hill to get into the playoff. That was a fucking amazing putt.
Least favorite. Maybe all those Dustin collapses were just my least favorite ones. The Brooks win that Tiger was involved in, that's almost just known more for like Tiger walking the bridge.
Bell Reef.
Yeah, Bell Reef. That was fun. I could see. It's funny because I don't think these courses necessarily like match up at all, but I could see that leaderboard being here this week. It was like Scott, Woodland, Koepka, Tiger. I think DJ was up there a little bit. Like that feels like what's going to happen this week.
Those are the same people that succeeded at Bethpage too, by the way.
Oh, I can most definitely. I mean, that was Brooks DJ 1-2 and Spieth in 3rd.
Yeah, cold New York, like, a lot of similar conditions.
And I guess, sort of one of the bigger, well, I think we'll see a leaderboard that I think we'll see different sort of player profiles. But, people are talking that, maybe guys are going to try to wing foot this place like Bryson and Matt Wolff did for the most part. But it does seem like the greens are small and they're exacting. Like you miss your spot by 1 or 2 feet. Seems like you get fed all the way into those runoff areas. And God forbid you end up in one of those steep face bunkers. So maybe the guys that are just the best shot makers that control those 175-yard irons that can hit those spots are maybe the guys to bet on.
Well, it's funny because when you look at it on paper and what this course requires, like, listen, if you're going to be flying some of these elevated greens, you need to get height on your ball. Hitting out of the rough is probably not a great idea. You'll want to be in the center of the fairway. Like, everything just kind of points to Morikawa, except that the green and regulation percentage is probably going to be sub 60%, which means he needs to get it up and down all the time and then make those 8-footers, which, every 15 weeks he does make all the 8-footers, but outside of that, dude can't hit a 3-footer, and dude can't chip to save his life at the moment.
He would need to be Gary Woodland at Pebble Beach.
Yes, like he needs to have one of those weeks, but his ball striking game is essentially exactly what you want. He's basically like better Duffner when it comes down to it. He's longer Duffner. He's better with his irons than Duffner. I mean, he putts just as shitty as Duffner does. At least Duffner can kind of get it up and down sometimes. But that type of profile is probably exactly what you would want. That's what you would have wanted for 2013, obviously. I don't know how much that's going to translate this time around, but I don't think that the winged foot strategy of just going blast off the tee and just trying to chunk it up is, I mean, listen, it might work for Scheffler or something like that, or maybe even Brooks or Rory, some of the very, very, very biggest hitters. But I just don't think without any spin on your ball that you're going to get the ball to stop on these greens.
I have a hunch that's, not old and like oldish guys, and someone in their 40s is going to be this year's Jim Furyk at this tournament.
Yeah, but
somebody like a Matt Kuchar.
No, it has to be Adam Scott.
I don't know that it has to be.
Well, Adam Scott makes the most sense because he still has the distance, right? Like I just feel like the short hitters, now that this course has been expanded and the amount of long irons that you're going to have to hit, that it puts them at a more severe disadvantage than when they played this at any other point in the past 40 years.
Or, I mean, Webb Simpson's sort of oldish. I would not be shocked to see Webb Simpson play well here.
I was thinking like I was actually game for this place. I don't know what I want to do with like how to bet on him. Maybe it's just a DraftKings play, but in like your Webb Simpson vein, no, it was going to be Harris English. Like, doesn't he seem like the ultimate PGA champion, like the most nondescript person on the planet?
Okay, he was a guy we were sort of like, wake me up when you start showing form, and he's showing form again. Like he's sort of rounding himself back into something. The Charles Schwab can't come soon enough, but yeah, I guess like if you're looking at those really longer guys, Harris English, he's played well. I think he's got a nice little Northeast resume.
He won the Travelers against Hickok in that playoff 2 years ago. It's funny, when I look at this course and just seeing like the flyovers, now that they've removed some of the trees, it just kind of strikes me as a longer Colonial.
Okay.
How live do you think the guys who are in the like 20, like the north of 40-1 pack is?
Not very. Like we've seen one long shot winner at a PGA Championship in like the past 20 years, and it was Jimmy Walker against Jason Day.
Well,
and Phil.
Was it Phil 100-1 or something?
Yeah, Phil was 200.
Well, yeah, but Phil's got the major pedigree where it's
still like Phil was an out of nowhere winner, yes. Because no one was really thinking of Phil, especially based on the form that he had coming into that week. But if you were to sell someone like historically, hey, this guy is over 50 and he won a major championship, Phil's on the short list of 10 people who you would actually put in that consideration, isn't he?
He's also like, other than Tiger, the second best player of an entire generation. So anything he does shouldn't totally surprise. And again,
who else I liked was Justin Rose.
Hold on, he won a Champions Tour event. And he was right before, and he was the first round leader at Wells Fargo. They were like, he was ticking, but yeah, I never saw it coming. I still don't believe it happened, but happy for him, I guess.
Yeah, like if you have generic create a player face, chances are you have a shot at the PGA Championship. Like Justin Thomas has won this twice. Like there was no more create a character ever face than Justin Thomas's.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's either going to be somebody who meets all the conditions you described, or somebody who has a Gary Woodland can't be stopped chipping and putting week. One of those two things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but like Mito was pretty popular last year from like a lot of metrics pointed to Mito last year heading into the PGA. He seemed quite popular for a long shot at the major. I know there was a big letdown for a lot of people how it played out.
Well, yeah, so I know who we can attribute that to. And the guy, he got cursed so badly he had to go to live. But yes, trending-wise coming in, he was like the popular long shot bet. Him and Cameron Young basically coming in, and both played really well.
And I'm like any event, I do suspect one of these fun young up-and-comers will be part of that, and I'll get excited for them. But
like, so does that mean Kevin Streelman's going to win?
I don't believe he's even in the draw. Neither is Daly, who withdrew today, which is unfortunate.
Oh, that's going to be bad news for the thumbnail of this.
Happens.
Yeah, Streelman is not in contention. Young gun. He probably have to go requalify for the PGA Tour. It's too bad for him. All right, Tim, any final thoughts on the PGA Championship before we let you go?
That's a good question. Not a whole lot, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun, but like it's hard. This is not a course that gets me energized. Sorry, like I'm sure it'll be cool, but like it's like your normal country club, New England Northeast club. Like I'm sure it'll be fun, it'll be exciting, but like I'm far more intrigued to see what LA Country Club has to offer because I know never seen anything there before at the U.S. Open. Like I'm just more excited about that than I am this tournament, but I'm sure it'll be great.
Like you're not excited because this course has hosted Ryder Cups, US
no,
Open,
it's just
PGA Championships. I don't know.
Now, once they got rid of all the trees, I'm not sure what its personality is. I think that was part of what I remember Oak Hill for being an incredibly tree-lined golf course. Now that that's gone, I just don't know what I'm getting.
I'm no golf course snob. That's not like anything I do. It's like watching a scene in a movie. Some people will see like lighting. I just watch basketball. I just see the ball move. I'm not watching formations. Okay. So I don't like see what maybe some people see in golf courses because my eye's just not trained in that way. But I have, and maybe again, I'm just buying into the hyperbole of the stuff I watched, but I've never seen a restoration of a classic course as as universally applauded as this one appears to have been.
Oh, it may be great. It's just, I don't know. The last few majors we've had at courses that have real identities and interesting stamps to them. And this place just seems like it's a less hard version of other great courses in New York State, whether it be Winged Foot or Shinnecock Hills or Bethpage Black. It's like, this is a really good course, but it's like, what do we got? I'm sure it'll be beautiful. I'm sure it'll be tough. I hope it produces compelling golf. I just have trouble getting super excited for this place. That's me. That's just how I feel.
Paul, did you have something to say?
Yeah, before Tim goes, does he have anybody on his list that has no chance of winning this week?
Crucial. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, there's a few people. Cameron Young, get him out of here. Get him out of here. There are people out there, like I said, I think in the text, that there are deranged people who think Cameron Young is a better golfer than Cameron Smith. Get out of here. Go away.
I have a Cam Young future, and I kind of agree with you. A nice number, like north of 50 or 50.
Well, I mean that's different though than betting Cam Young at 60 to 1 than betting him at 25 to 1.
Yeah, but when I made that bet, I was so certain he was picking one off between like Christmas and now that I didn't need to have this conversation. Like, your first win is going to be a major. Get out of town. I don't know what Tim's reasoning for hating on him is, but mine is just like, now it just feels like the ask is just, I don't know.
And Ricky, get Ricky out of here. People are getting excited for Ricky Fowler. Yeah, that's sweet. Maybe he even has a moment on Friday, but he'll fizzle out. Ricky Fowler's got no chance to win this tournament.
Oh, I like Ricky Jeff. I like Ricky more now.
I don't know that Ricky can win, but I love how everything has gone. For the consistency in Ricky Fowler right now is incredible. I feel like, I mean, yeah, sure. I don't know whether Tim is like throwing direct stones at like just Ricky fans with this comment.
No, not necessarily. People are getting a little too excited about, Ricky playing well for a couple of months after, not playing well for half a decade. Like, let's calm down a little bit here. He's not going to do anything.
It just worked for Justin Rose. It just worked for Jason Day. Why not Ricky?
I don't see it happening.
That was Pebble Beach and Valero.
Also,
like, that's sort of
those
my
two
point.
guys
Ricky's
are also
gotta
major
pick
champion
off,
winners.
Ricky's got to pick off one of those fields.
Ricky doesn't play those events.
Yeah, his best friends don't go to those events. He's not going to those events. I get it.
I also think Spieth is a good pick in DraftKings and will be on my DraftKings team.
Spieth?
Yeah.
Okay. So Young can't win, Ricky can't win, Spieth's a good play, DJ Gooch and Lowry are all good plays. Any other can't win at all?
Those are my two big ones that I felt strongly about.
All right. That was the insanity from the mind of Tim ANDERCURSED.
Tim ANDERCURSED.
And yes, that is his name. Let's get into it. PGA Championship. Top of the odds at DraftKingsSportsbook.com. We got the big two this time around. Jon Rahm is 7-1. Scotty Scheffler is 7.5 to 1, coming off a top 5 finish at the Byron Nelson a week ago. Rory is now dropped from 12 to 14 to 1. I can't remember the last time that Rory was 14 to 1 at a major. Cantlay is now 18 to 1. Then you have Xander, Brooks, both at 20 to 1 at the moment. Justin Thomas has fallen from 20 to 25 to 1 in the betting market, with Jason Day after Brooks at 22 to 1. So you have Finau, Thomas, both at 25, Day at 22, Xander and Brooks both at 20 to 1. Not how I would have penciled in this board even about 4 weeks ago, once you get past the big three. To have seen Rory fall off so much in terms of the betting odds that he's now double the price of Jon Rahm, it's not surprising, considering he missed the cut at the Players, missed the cut at the Masters. You think he'd rectify his game, get himself right at Wells Fargo. Didn't happen whatsoever. Is anyone betting Rory? Because these numbers would suggest to me that they are not.
At the moment, the books do not seem like they're taking much lead up, Pat, although I think we have a couple friends who are very bullish on Rory and have been making strong, impassioned case for him this week. He feels like such an enigma. He could go out on Thursday, like at the moment. He could shoot that 65 Thursday, be like, that wouldn't shock you. You could shoot the 76, 77. I don't think that would totally shock anybody. I'm a little surprised to see the number get this far backwards when you consider that he is the course does appear to be perfect for him. But if you want to bet on Rory, Pat, do you have to then ask yourself what you think the winning score is going to be? And if it's going to play super hard, haven't we established that this Rory 2.0, so to say, hasn't really handled the lower scoring or the harder golf courses all that well in terms of wins? They have been few and far between since all that time ago when he was superhuman and throttling people on those difficult golf courses.
I think that's a little bit unfair, mainly because the only tournaments that he plays that are super difficult and have these low scores are the majors, and he's not winning majors. Like, the only other one that he really plays that generally has a very high score is Bay Hill, and he just comes second there every year.
Yeah, no, that's fair point. The sample size isn't very large, although I would say when wanting to make a case about Rory in the major, for someone as accomplished as him, who's always been at the very, near the very top of the game, if not ranked number one going into so many majors, it's almost like trying to find like a trend for like Bill Belichick before a game. Like, he's won off a loss. He's played horrible off a loss. He's played horrible when he's been in his best form. He's played great when he's been in his best form. Like, there's nothing he hasn't done in this entire, like, the sample sizes. Individually, the sample sizes are small, but you could talk yourself into Rory having done pretty much anything you want before a big event and have the result that you want. Now, I really like Rory this week. I don't think I'm going there on the price. But I'm just saying there's not like every sort of lead-in situation to a major Rory has had.
Sure. Guy's been around forever. 3 players just added to the field of the PGA Championship. David Lingmerth, Callum Tarrant, and Eric Cole. You gonna bet any of those guys?
No.
Okay.
I am not.
Okay. Scotty Scheffler and John... You don't need to say but on those 3 jabronis. Don't worry about that. Scheffler and John Rahm. I prefer Rahm over Scheffler, but I'm not getting there at even 8-1, which I'm seeing at some other spots too. Just, I don't know exactly what I want to do this week, but I do have some wagers in already. And I don't know, Scheffler's just not making enough putts like inside 10 feet. He's just missing far too many 4-footers. And maybe he turns it all around this week. It won't be a problem, but it's pretty terrifying when you're going to need to make those putts if the winning score is going to be -9 or something.
I'm out on Scheffler. Not to say even if he was playing great and won this past week that I would be in on Scheffler and that number. While I was doing my research on Saturday or Sunday for this, watching one of my many YouTube videos, I guess, your great research show, I listened to Andy's, Bamford's, a bunch of them in between the stuff that meant nothing, like the trees or the guy that planted them. The broadcast said he's 200th in the world out of the bunkers. And I'm listening to you guys do research talking about these greenside bunkers. Not hitting the putts when he's getting out of them either. It's not even like close. He's a distant third for me if I'm ranking these top 3.
He's second for me. I still like him better than I like Rory because, listen, as I keep coming back to, if you don't have a semblance of a short game, I just don't think you're going to succeed here whatsoever. Now, you could always argue the reverse case because we've seen this before and why, weirdly enough, Victor Hovland's around the green numbers are like better at majors than they are in regular events, that maybe it's just so hard around the greens that having an elevated and top tier elite short game just means less because the rough is so thick that you can't utilize that game as much as possible, that it kind of evens the playing field. A lot like putting on POA surfaces that people say equalize it a little bit, or super, super fast greens that, if you're a bad putter, even the good putters are going to miss by a whole bunch in a lot of spots. Or you just have to get it on the right line and tap it a little bit, and it's going to funnel towards the hole. Like, there are different mitigating factors here. It's just, I think there's going to be so much scrambling involved to get yourself up and down for par that I like Scheffler's around the green game. I don't like him out of the bunkers. And as you mentioned, they say he's over 200. In this field, over the past 24 rounds, he's 137th in the field out of the bunkers and 125th in putting from 5 to 10 feet.
But I guess he offsets it when he chips in for eagle from that nice tight lie on a runoff area.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, I mean, we saw it at the Byron Nelson. Like, it's 2 years in a row. He hit that like low stinger from 90 feet and just bounce, stop. And that's why I thought he would do really well at Southern Hills last year, because there was so much of that closely mown, shaven area. There's a lot more thick rough around here than there was last year at Southern Hills PGA Championship. Like, you really had to get off the beaten path in order to find that rough. So I don't know if he's going to be able to utilize that as much, but I do think that his around the green game is incredibly Spiethy, which is terrifying when you don't have money on him.
That is true. I mean, Rahm would be the guy here. I just don't know. With the futures I kind of already have, it would be silly for me to bet him. Although I love him and I think that he would win. Pat, since 1960, do you know the players who won the first 2 majors of the year? I believe there have been 4 of them.
Well, does that count the PGA Championship, or are we talking about Masters US Open?
I mean, it does. No one's done it in the new schedule, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, so it would have to be did Spieth do it? Did he win Masters US Open?
Yeah. 2015, Spieth won
Masters in Chambers Bay.
Yeah, thanks, Dustin. So it's Arnold Palmer, Jack Tiger, and Spieth.
I mean, if Rahm joined that list, would you be surprised?
No, and I've kind of I don't know that he's there yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if So I wouldn't be surprised. 7, 8 to 1. That's the price.
Yeah, it's a going. That's the going rate right now. I'm not doing it, but that's me. Guy couldn't even run down Tony Finau in Mexico. How dare he? You want to talk about the other guys in this range? Like, are you going to Cantlay at 18 to 1? Because I like Xander more than I like Cantlay. Although I kind of like them both this week, I don't find them all that dissimilar than guys that are almost double their odds.
So I've been staring at Cantlay, although I do feel like maybe I should sacrificially not bet him at a major so he can win the major. That would be a favor for him and for everybody. Seems like a perfect player profile. I have bet. I took, it was this gutter site, though. I hope I could even get paid if I win. But I have a Xander at 29 to 1 on some gutter site.
That's not bad. 29 to 1's the best number.
Last week. Yeah.
That's the best number you're going to find.
Yeah, it's around there. I think a lot of other people have it. I don't know why they have the gutter site, but
did you bet that at ipromiseiwon'tscammyou.com? .net, sorry.
No, we might be mistaking gutter sites, but the people who bet it will know what I'm talking about. But fuck them.
Okay. I recommend that everyone use DraftKingsSportsbook.com if they're making their wagers. Additionally, I told you about the $600 in free cash I'm giving away for the ratings and reviews and all that. I'm also giving away a comp year membership to FantasyNational.com for all of the same things. You get yourself in the draw exactly the same way. However, you need to be an existing member at FantasyNational.com in order to do that. So you can change that right now if you're not a member by going to FantasyNational.com/Mayo, getting 20% off any of the packages. You get the weekly, it's $8. You get your ownership percentage, your lineup generators, your head-to-head research that you want to do. Just use it. It's the best stat site on the planet. I highly recommend that you go do that right now and get that discount at FantasyNational.com/Mayo. Day and Brooks are there as well. Finau, Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas is the one that has the most interest in me.
Maybe the PGA Championship is just his thing. Like, the layouts seem to be ideal for him.
Yeah.
I trust Justin to get off the mat, and I guess the books do too, in a certain sense, than like any of these other really good players who haven't won. Be it Morikawa, I don't even know if it's fair to put Cam Young in that conversation. Maybe it is just Morikawa, but I trust Justin a lot. I think the 25s are more than fair.
And remember, he most definitely has N64 face, so that's a big benefit in winning the PGA Championship. Who do you think has more N64 face, Justin Thomas or Jimmy Walker? Or Jason Duffner.
Probably Jimmy. Oh, that's close. Justin Thomas. Yeah. Now that you're saying it, it's just ringing very true. He's just very generic auto build.
Yeah, I did bet one guy that I do think just excels in N64 face, so I'm going to be going all in on him this week. By my numbers, after the Byron Nelson, over the past 24 rounds, the top 5 players in this field, Scheffler, Hatton, Finau, Xander, and Rahm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rory is 6, Thomas is 7, Day, Homa, and Kirshner's boy, Windy C, number 10.
That's incredible. Sorry, what was that period from?
Last 24 rounds.
I mean, Justin, like you said, the floor seems to be gaining 5 shots with approach. The ceiling is double digits.
It is. It's funny after watching, because I bet on him at Wells Fargo, and he was third making the turn. He was in third place making the turn on Sunday, and he finished 14th. And he gained 1.4 strokes putting for the week, but watching him just squander birdie opportunity after birdie opportunity was just infuriating. And it's going to be infuriating when we don't bet Justin Thomas and he just starts making these 8-footers, because he's going to win by like 3 strokes. Do we get there? It's been a year since he's won. He won this tournament last year. That's his last win.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe this is just his thing. These PGA Championships and that little family lineage. They seem perfect for him. The numbers seem do you think the 25s get bigger?
No. I mean, you might be able to squeeze. Maybe someone drops a 30. Maybe there's a few 28s lingering out there. But 25 seems like the number. If anything, I think it gets shorter. Because realistically, here's the way I think about it. And listen, my numbers love Finau. People love Finau. But if you have Dave Finau and Justin Thomas all at the same number, who the fuck is not betting Justin Thomas between those 3?
Okay, that I agree with. And sometimes that's sort of how my that I agree with. Although that is my other future. I have Tony Finau 35-1.
That's probably what he should be right now. Like, dude, as good as Tony has been with his 6 wins and the 4 wins in the past 10 months, he hasn't done it against these players.
No, he hasn't. But I always believe he can.
Sure. And listen, his win that he beat Cam Smith in the playoff event, that was in the Northeast, so maybe he's got some good vibes coming in. Obviously, he just won in Mexico against John Rahm and me and you, but he's playing well coming in, and that's really the thing. Although his putting from in close outside of Mexico on Paspalum, he does have 2 Paspalum wins. That maybe pure bent, not the way to go for him when trying to make those short, quick ones.
No, Ben, that could be a bit of a situation, but I don't know. I've Finau, it's a future. It's 35-1. Like I've said many times, these major championships, they're my hobby. They're my fetish. I don't do much, especially once Sundays and football season are over. And I don't even blink. I will bet my favorite players. And there's no one I want to see win a major more than Tony Finau.
Brooks at 20, yes or no?
No.
No for me as well. So Justin Thomas is really the one that has my biggest attention from 25-1 and below. And it's funny because I might pepper this next range is what I really like. And, that's usually a losing strategy for myself because I never win these things. But the 25-28 range, we got Hovland, Cam Young, Cam Smith, Morikawa, DJ, Fitzpatrick, all at 28 at the moment. Some of those guys are going to change up. Some of those guys are going to change down. They're not all going to stick at 28-1. And there's a little bit of a gap. You got Homa, Sungjae, Hatton at 35-1, Spieth at 40, then Hideki and Burns both at 50-1 at the moment on DraftKings Sportsbook after the reset. Now, a lot of these guys were shorter odds. They got pumped up a little bit. Hatton got dropped in the market because of his finish. His final 3 holes essentially at Byron Nelson cost you 10 points if you didn't bet Hatton already. But we have some concerns about a lot of these guys. You have the live guys, of course. Homa's never really performed on this big stage. Cam Young doesn't have a win in his career, so that's a bit difficult. Sung Jae just played in Korea over the weekend, and he did win and went to a wedding, but now he's on his way back. Spieth has this wrist injury that we have no idea what's going on with. Is he fine? Is he not? Who can really say? But now his odds have dropped to 40. This is what he needs to complete the Grand Slam. In golf, I bet Cam Smith when I caught a 40-1. I still see him lingering out there at 35 in some spots. I would bet that. Yeah, this course reeks of Cam Smith for me.
You concerned about the off the tee or not at all?
Not really. Like, if it's not imperative that you have to hit the fairway, and it does become... Essentially, once we get off the tee, Cam Smith is basically the best player in the world, isn't he?
He's right up there. That's a pretty big number. I even saw some bigger ones last week. Maybe I regret not.
DraftKings hung a 50 last week. I missed that number, and I got in at 40. But listen, he just lost in a playoff in DG on Live. Since Augusta on Live, he's actually been very good. And he had been absolute trash before that. It's like he wasn't even paying attention to golf. And then he played the Masters. He's like, oh shit, I need to get my game in gear here, though. But if he can just drive adequately, I think he's going to be fine, because if you need someone to get it up and down and make a 12-foot putt for par, I mean, that's Cam Smith.
That is Cam Smith, and you kind of nailed it. He self-admitted at the podium at the Masters that he did not prepare for the year for a potpourri of reasons. Some obvious, from being getting paid in advance, to just having such a great year the year before that he earned time away, and the fact that he can now just spend more time in Australia. He said he got lazy with golf, and if he's diligent again, which it seems like it is, then you should get what you're asking for. What are you seeing now? 28-1 on Cam Smith?
Yeah, 28-1 at DraftKings Sportsbook. I do still see 35s lingering around the market. I would bet it at 28. I'd bet it at 30. I'd bet it at 35. I've already bet it at 40, so I'm not going back to the well. Posted that on Twitter on Sunday evening if people did want to get in and where to go get that at. But it just seems like too big of a number for a guy that good. Is essentially what it all boils down to. Like, he should be 20-1. If Xander is going to be 20-1, Cam Smith should be 20-1.
Yeah, I mean, and I look at that when you bet golf or you watch these guys, as long as you have, or in sequence week in, week out, you see those disparity in odds. And that I can't really argue that. I don't think I'm going to bet Cam Smith. I would say the player in this range that you mentioned that I see as high as 35-1 still at places. And it's scary to think, like, you bet this guy over Cam Smith, like that argument you made before, like JT versus Jason Day and Fina. Like, what's wrong? Like, I get you like this player, but now that we're talking about this number, maybe you've got to reevaluate. Matthew Fitzpatrick, Pat. The guy is just, outside of when he may or may not have had that neck injury, he's been like a cheat code in many of the things that you want exactly what I believe Oak Hill is going to be asking of these guys.
I can most definitely see it. Like, even at Wells Fargo, he came 35th and field average with his irons, lost some strokes around the green, drove it really well, and that's been the key to him all year. He's been driving the ball. Essentially, before winning the U.S. Open a year ago, like, the driver has just become a very huge weapon in his arsenal, where before he was just kind of like a fairway finder, but now he has like real distance off the tee. He's still hitting a ton of fairways, and the putter has just been immaculate for like 4 months now. He's back to that form now, switching to pure bent, where outside of the Masters, no one's really played on pure bent. I don't think these greens are going to run quite as fast or undulating as the Masters are going to do, so it might be a little bit easier for a few people, but I like it a lot. It's Sung Jae to me. I see Sung Jae as deep as 40.
40, yeah. Fitz and Sung Jae. Sung Jae, like Xander, I don't know. They just straight on an arrow. Does Korea matter? It's weird. Does it matter?
I don't think so. Now, will it matter? It might. The guy might have like 15-hour jet lag or whatever it might be. I think he's experienced enough at making that trip for one thing that maybe he's a little bit used to it than like you or I or the viewers might be doing. It was like A-Rap's dad used to travel to China all the time. I remember talking to him once, and he was just like, yeah, he's like, it's nothing. Like, I'm just used to it at this point. And obviously, he's not returning to Korea every single week, so there's going to be a little bit of lag. But if that's the only reason that you can come up with that you're not betting on Sungjae, how about he just fucking won?
Yeah. Well, no, I guess you show up and win. He would have been the same price. I think maybe shorter than Scheffler probably was last week. I think someone said he was 275 to win that KPGA event. No, I absolutely love Sungjae. I've been staring at those the 40s for 2 weeks, maybe more. Definitely last weekend, as he was just looked so good at Wells Fargo for a bit. He's been so good. He seems to. And I don't want to lump the like team event with Keith Mitchell, but yeah, it seems like the moment sometimes maybe gets too big for him on the weekend, but I don't read into that. Because to me, I just like going to the weekend and I trust your ceiling skill. And I think one of these times, kind of like when I talk about Victor, I just trust that when like you knock on that door so often, your ceiling's going to pop through it. So yeah, Sungjae, Matthew Fitzpatrick would definitely be the two players in that north of 25, 35 and 40. I could see them both. I might bet them both.
So looking at Sungjae, the biggest thing to me is he's just doing it across the board. And that's kind of what you want. Like he's hitting, listen, he's not the deepest guy on tour, but he hits more fairways than any other elite player than maybe Morikawa, which is huge. So listen, I think that this course does set up really well for Morikawa outside of the reasons that I mentioned. I think the chipping and putting might be just too much to overcome from him. When push comes to shove and we're done with the cliches and he needs to get it up and down from the rough, he might chip it 2 feet in front of him. It'd be like me out there trying to hack it out and be like, oh, shit. And then just one mistake with him, as we've seen, can just compound. And all of a sudden, you're not making par anymore, even making bogey or making triple. Because remember the Bryson hole at the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, where it's like, Bryson's got this going, and then all of a sudden there was like an 8 on the scorecard. I worry about that type of outcome for Victor and Morikawa this week. Like, they are the worst elite players in this one particular thing that I really think is going to be an emphasis this week. Like, you know, if you could just put Patrick Reed's hand, designated chipper Patrick Reed, these guys are going to win like 6 tournaments a year, but there's a reason that they don't, and this is the reason.
Who do you trust more this week, Morikawa or Hovland?
Morikawa. I mean, the guy's won 2 majors.
Yep. That's fair. Vic's gone off in the final group of the last 2, but he certainly hasn't won. And honestly, there isn't really,
but think about the 2 places that he was able to do it. We see the direct correlation through line between St. Andrews and Augusta. What do you not really need to be able to do there? Yes, like you need to be able to chip, but it's not like you're chipping from the deep rough or anything like that. Think about the amount of times at Bay Hill that Victor's had a chance, then he gets caught in the rough, and it's the end of him.
Listen, I agree, although I think I'll like go to my grave with Victor taking home Bay Hill. But you're right. Once he gets in those thick hosels, green side, it goes 4 feet. And there were some magical putts at the Masters. I don't know if we can bank on those.
That's true.
But I don't see myself betting either of them.
I just feel like everything that you want to get from Morikawa, you get sort of a lesser version from Sungjae at better odds, but you also get the caveat that he's very good around the greens. He's very good on the greens 60% of the time, where Morikawa just fails in those areas.
True, but then some would just say, no, I'll just bet on the 2-time major champion who's due. Like, I'm just making the argument for the Morikawa bet. I completely
understand it. It just, with Victor and Colin this week, everything feels like it has to go right for them. And that's just something hard to bet on right now.
Yeah, I trust Sungjae's wizardry out of those bunkers. Yeah, I would say like 40 to 1 above. He's absolutely my favorite bet here this week would be Sungjae.
All right.
And again, like you said, it's just like across the boards, like 8 out of 10 across the board. And you look into this layout and you think that probably is what gets it done. Although 10 out of 10 in some aspects as well.
What do you do with Spieth?
I mean, I wouldn't have bet him before this.
But he's 40 to, he's 40 to 1 now.
Don't care. But it creates a great story, and it creates a Disney movie element to his Grand Slam win if he pulls it off. Coming in injured. Beware of injured golfer.
Got injured at Wells Fargo and missed the cut. Previous to that, 2nd, 4th, 3rd, 19th, 4th. The putter was back, baby.
What a swerve. What a swerve. It would be, I think it was Kyle Porter who sent the Morikawa Open Championship tweet out. You know, he doesn't like how his irons are hitting the grass. He's never played the turf. He's never played over here before, blah, blah, blah. No one bets Morikawa. Spieth letting you know he's 50-50 and his wrist hurts. Like, maybe that's the pivot. Maybe that's a great, as Tim said, you know, people like to fade Tim, but maybe he's like a perfect DFS play. Or maybe too many people want to bank on injured Spieth. I'm not a Spieth guy, so I wasn't in this before the bad news. And I wouldn't have bet him at 18 or 22 to 1. Surely I would not have. So I don't really care now either.
Okay. I did make another bet in this range. I got it at 5 points better at 55 to 1, but I bet Sam Burns.
Saw those 50. I saw 40s and then it went to 55. Seems to be forgotten. Okay, two guys at the back here, Pat. Is Sam Burns out of his comfort zone course-wise? He seems to make hay on easier courses, but I like
Does he?
Sam
I mean,
a lot.
the guy went back-to-back at Valspar. Valspar's not an easy course. He made it look easy.
Like easier fields.
Sure.
Fields, but I'm a big no. He's a winner. Sam Burns is a natural born winner. If Sam Burns was in a final group on the back nine battling with one of those dragons at the very, very top, like he's got that, like, different than Patrick Reed, but like that trust level that I just believe he exudes winning and confidence and doesn't blink a moment if he's versus John Rahm. So that's a reason I love to bet that guy. And right beside him, I mean, Hideki's the bent grass master, is he not?
I mean, master is probably a bit much. It's just he doesn't normally struggle profusely on bent like he does on other surfaces.
Okay, that came out wrong. Yes, bent grass. So few players seem to excel on this surface. He seems to
he loses strokes per round on bent grass. But he only loses 0.06 per round versus 0.24 on Bermuda. But he's won on Bermuda too. Like, Hideki's a lot like Morikawa in a way where either he's putting well and everything's going in, or he's putting horribly and nothing's going in. Like, there's not much of a middle range for Hideki on the greens a lot of the time.
That seems to be the case. But hey, when you bet in that outright market, that is something you just accept. Because you accept, you're like driving your car off the lot once you hit submit for the most part. Well, it's great when books offer the full cash out. Oh my God. You can almost like day trade on a Monday on those books.
But looking at his recent performance, he came in with the neck injury. He had been off since the Masters, returned last week at AT&T Byron Nelson. He came 23rd. He lost strokes off the tee, but gained over 5 on approach. He putted okay, chipped okay, and it was the first time he had lost. Well, he's only lost twice off the tee to the field so far this year. At API, where he missed the cut, and then last week at the AT&T Byron Nelson. Other than that, he's gained at Valero, 4 strokes off the tee. Players Championship, 3 off the tee. I do worry that he doesn't necessarily have the distance that he used to have, where his kind of total driving game was so good because he was long and accurate, where we saw that with Keegan Bradley for years too, that he was like one of the few players in the world that would consistently be top 50 in distance and accuracy. And as time has gone on, it's just he's just as long as he used to be, but the other guys are just much longer now.
Yeah, and they're getting longer. Like Matthew, like these guys, they do that speed training, right? Like incredible what those guys are doing. But yeah, that's a good seeing those Burns numbers balloon. I did notice it. I haven't bet it. You said you bet it?
I bet Burns, yeah, at 55 to 1.
Okay, another name here. Again, no bet for me. It seems like there are a lot of futures that were at 50 that seem like, oh my God, he's going to be half that at the PGA Championship. Everyone's also excited for LA Country Club. But Max Mahoma kind of feels like a forgotten entity as we head into this major.
I forgot
40 to 1. I've seen the number peak at.
I forgot who mentioned it, and that's my fault. So I apologize for whoever said it. It's not an original thought for me. But is Max Homa just Bubba Watson? Play Homa at Homa courses and just be on your way.
Okay, but I mean that I in some ways makes sense off the top of my head, but have it like Riviera Quail. I mean, I guess that's a silly question to be asking now. What are your do you have comp courses for this week?
Not really. I've seen a lot of people say Bethpage, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I said it looks like harder Colonial. And I mean, that's one of the reasons, not the main reason that I bet on Burns, but he played well at the PGA Championship last year. He ran down, he got into that playoff with Scheffler and made the putt in his face last year as well. Just, I don't know. He's so wishy-washy where if Burns missed the cut by 7 strokes, I wouldn't be super stunned, but I do feel like he actually has real win equity in this field too.
I agree. He might be the demarcation point of win equity, but you could also argue that the 50 is kind of unfair to what he's done in the last like 18 months.
I mean, it goes to show you how popular Tony Finau is because Burns essentially wins as much as Tony Finau, and Burns has beat better fields.
Agreed. Wins more, I would argue. Well,
no, he doesn't.
About equal. Yeah, sure. It's better fields.
Better fields, harder courses.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue that point. Although, as
Except Tony, you can pick out of a lineup of 20 people, Sam Burns, N64 face.
I love this N64 pace thing.
Yeah, if you ever played Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey, Sam Burns, probably the model for all the guys in that game.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong. And credit to Tony, as our friend Andy Lack liked to point out, no one is probably better at schedule optimization than Tony Finau.
Sure.
55-1, Sam Burns. And I tell you, Pat, I bet you 5 of the last 6. No, that's too many. There have been multiple majors, like more than 2 in the last year and a half, that no one is probably tumbled harder leading into the majors odds-wise than Ty Hatton. I mean, the amount of CLV you have had going into majors, if you bet Hatton early, is undefeated. It seems
he exists in the Patrick Reed zone where unless he's playing fantastic golf coming in at the very moment, his odds are just going to be shitty. Like good for us, bad for him. But like he tumbles down the board like we used to see with Reed and Sergio. People don't like Hatton. I love Hatton, but people do not like him.
Okay, I didn't watch a ton of golf this week. I saw Hatton in the booth. Was that Saturday? It was Saturday. He was he was like, I can't be myself. I'm going to be boring. And he was very boring. Like it was pretty funny in that sense. But yeah, he was great I've joked a couple times already this year that I can force myself to double click Hatton on the computer because I just envisioned that shot from Sawgrass on 18, that approach shot. And he was doing a lot of the same amazing stuff at Wells Fargo, which I guess made him a very popular pick, especially when Spieth withdrew last week. So yeah, it's another major where Hatton has tumbled at least 15, 20 points in like the lead up to the week lead up. And there were 75s 2 weeks ago.
How has he done at the PGA Championship? He has won 2 top 10s at the PGA Championship. 2016, 2018 was 13th a year ago at Southern Hills. I feel like that's probably his best. Maybe he's better at the Open historically. Let's see. The Open.
He's on Link's stalwart.
Yeah, he has two top 10s at the Open. He has a lot of miscuts at the Open Championship as well. Maybe the U.S. Open. Let's see. U.S. Open. Why isn't this coming up? Oh, yeah, U.S.Open is what I need to type in to find this. He has 1 top 10 at the U.S. Open. So, let's see, he's been around for some of these. This does feel like a course where he could get it going, and this is the best form I think he's ever come in with, outside of like that 1 year when he was winning all the like Middle East events and things like that. But his performance in elevated events so far this year has been immaculate.
Outstanding. And I mean, as Tim was mentioning, Shane Lowry, and there's a lot of people who believe, looking how some of that weather can come in and maybe those, the words are, but Englishmen, Irishmen could have a bit of an advantage if it plays sloppy. I guess Hatton might be outside of the really good players, he's probably the favorite on that list for a great week. It'd be so fun if he was a major champion.
Oh, I would love to see Hatton win. It was
so
put it this way, I didn't win money. Listen, I didn't bet on Jason Day at the Byron Nelson. I was pretty happy to see Jason Day win.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, as a guy who hasn't won in a long time, I couldn't have been the only person yesterday to be like, holy shit, is that Dash? Is that Dash? Guy's a monster. Like, I can make some of our original fans feel old this week when I tell them my daughter is turning 7 on Thursday.
Hey, your daughter and my son have the same birthday, don't they?
Yes, which I've always felt that's a nice like kismet that we have children born on the same day that share a birthday, and hopefully, like you, I think there's birthday party Saturday.
It is birthday party Saturday.
Fun.
All right, let's go to this next level, 50 to 100. We don't need to spend much time in here because, frankly, there's not a lot of names in here right now. What we're looking at is like Fleetwood, Gooch, Scott, Windy C, Lowry, who you mentioned, Fowler, who we talked about a little bit, Thigala, Tom Kim, Neiman, C, Kim, Corey Connors, Patrick Reed, Bryson DeChambeau are all in this match, or all in this range of odds. Is it possible for Si Woo to win a PGA Championship if he's wearing a Pin Pals bowling shirt?
That was that stood out to me. Is it possible to win this PGA Championship using one of those putters?
I mean, Adam Scott might win. Why not?
I guess. Yeah, I was amazed at Si Woo's shirt yesterday. Like, for a moment, you're like, he's not a Puma guy. What's this like big C on his back? He's like, you can kind of like see that it's the players, and it looks like it's a picture of Sawgrass on his back. As a PGA Superstore spokesman, well done. We condoning that? What was the number you mentioned on Si Woo? Is that a bet you're making?
No, I have not made a bet in this range. The only one there was two that I was eyeing. I actually kind of like Fowler, weirdly enough. I don't know if I'm going to get there as an outright win, but for like a top 10, right now he's paying 6.5 to 1 for a top 5. He's 16 to 1 or 14 to 1. Sorry. Don't mind those odds. His entire game is kind of peaking at the moment. Like I said, it's happened with Rose. It's happened with Dave. There's a much bigger stage. But even when Ricky sucked, he actually played the PGA Championship well for reasons unknown. I'm not quite sure why. And Tom Kim, like, if we were to have circled a course for Tom Kim at the beginning of the year for his big breakthrough, this would have been the course, and he's very sneakily playing a little bit better now.
And that number has gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah, it's no longer 25 to 1.
And it's like remain large. It might be flirting north of 180. Yeah, could get huge. I love Ricky. I will cry, but I'm not betting him. Maybe you will put that germ in my head to attack Ricky and some placings, or maybe even like attack Taylor Gooch in a head-to-head market.
See, I like Fleetwood. I'm actually kind of with Tim. I like Lowry as well, but Fleetwood, of all those guys, I do really like, just because his around the green game is just, his touch is so good. And that's why he's been so good at U.S. Opens in his career. But if it's coming down the stretch and I need Tommy to close it for me, I'm not betting him to win, put it that way.
Yeah, full disclosure, like whether you see it posted or not, like I have money on Tommy Fleetwood. I promise you it's probably the biggest number that ever existed for him in this tournament. I don't really want to go look at it right now because I lost a lot of money to that bookie and I don't want to open that book. But there's a triple digit Fleetwood future for this tournament sitting in there that yeah, like my dream is Finau, Fleetwood, or Ricky to win a major.
Oh, I do have breaking news for you, Jeff. You ready for this?
No.
Tyler Tambolini, at Toe Tag and Tambo, who will be on this show on Wednesday and just released the Fantasy Golf Degenerates with Kenny Kim up on Mayo Media Network right now, has launched a new platform for all of his services, Jeff.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go, Tambo.
ShipItNation.com. If you want any of Tambo's work, you go to ShipItNation.com, and I believe that he and Hoop are going to be doing the showdown shows for us on Mayo Media Network going forward. So we're going to have a ton of content from Tambo and Hoop up on the network for you. ShipItNation.com. Go check it out right now, all right?
Good for them. I mean, like, I'm not privy to inside information, but I saw some of the tea leaves that were going on there. That's a nice little, I mean, it makes sense why they would team up, and that's a worthy duo compared to what anyone is doing out there. So congratulations. That's awesome, and good for the network.
It'll cover MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL, and PGA. It's $49 per month as of today, or $4.99 per year. And if you get those prices right now, then they are locked in for lifetime if you want to go that. So ShipItNation.com. Shout out Tambo. We're all excited for your new endeavor, and we're here to support you. And Mayo Media Network is going to be behind this as well. So congratulations. Starting a business, Jeff, as someone who has started 3 in his lifetime, kind of terrifying.
Yeah, I believe that.
Also terrifying. Some of these names that I bet above 100 to 1. I've bet 2 of them so far. Everyone knows that I've had Keegan Bradley in at 125 to 1 for about 6 weeks now. He's at 100 in most spots. I didn't really get much CLV on that, but I do like him coming into this week. And the other guy I bet, would it surprise you that I bet Gary Woodland at 125 to 1 with 8 placings?
I got him at like 160. No places.
I could have got the 160 with no places, but I was like, yeah, I probably want places on this.
Yeah, no, I maybe should go back in to take some more Gary and add some places. But it's all like, yeah, I love that too.
Well, the biggest thing is I talked about Morikawa and Hovland. Even Cam Young, I do think falls into this trap of can't chip, can't putt. Gary can't chip and can't putt. The difference is he's not 28 to 1. He's 125 to 1. Now I don't care as much.
Yeah, no, that's easy to swallow. Like it doesn't even exist. I mean, if you roster him and he's like 8 over, you're gonna, and he ruins your nice, $100 single guy or $300 fun one. Yeah, you're gonna hate him. But an outright bet, Gary can do me no wrong ever. We're still in the green from Pebble.
Other than that, above 100 to 1, I mentioned Harris English was a name that I was looking at. Not quite sure of how I want to deploy that. I thought it was funny that Steven Yeager has better odds than Russell Henley, who just came fourth at the Masters and played pretty well at Heritage as well. Taylor Moore and Russell Henley are 2 players I'm not entirely sure what to do with, and I think we should give some consideration to Adrian Moronk.
Okay, I will say Taylor Moore's a player I've been giving a ton of consideration to. Maybe the outright bet would be insane, but it's 200 to 1. He's a guy that I'll probably be like all over in DFS. Moronk?
I like Denny as well at this course. This is just a pure Denny. Denny will finish this tournament at -3 is my prediction.
Denny. That's another one I honestly admit hadn't really thought of. He played so consistent no matter the field. Like it was elevated event, it was scrub field. He seemed to always sort of be flirting, playing some great golf. I guess he can just plot it.
Yeah, he'll just plot
the fairway.
He'll plot around. He'll never really be in contention, but he'll just be there. You'll see his name pop up on the leaderboard.
It's like a Brian Harmon major performance that we've seen. Like amazing. Like what happened here?
Yeah, you can bet Denny McCarthy 12 to 1 for a top 10. You probably get like 6.5 to 1 for a top 20. Like that's not outrageous.
Not outrageous. There's guys like I wish a guy like Answer was playing better. That is not the case. Neiman, I've seen that 100 to 1. Just to, I guess, name live guys, but Neiman would be my dark horse based on him being 100 to 1. I know it's a small sample field, but of like dark horse top live guy this week. I've always thought of him as a perfect PGA Championship player for these sort of newer or this current run of course selection that the PGA Championship has been going on.
Is there a chance that Billy Horschel just plays like he used to play and not like how he's currently playing? He's 300 to 1. I always thought that if he ever had a chance to win a major, it would be a PGA Championship.
he is so out of his element right now. Like even how he played in what should have been his happy place at Zurich less than a month ago with his friend wasn't all that inspiring. I have no thoughts on that. Like we talking DraftKings obviously, or what?
I just don't know. Like you could bet him top 40 probably, like 10-1 or something. This should be a course where he plays well, but he's just playing awful.
Yeah, he is playing horrible.
But
I would like
Woodland and Keegan are the two that I have from down here.
I know I keep mentioning live guys.
Are you going to bet any of these guys?
Neiman, I might.
Okay, so
Triple digit.
Neiman won.
Joakim Neiman, I won't. Will not be betting answer. I wish I could see like actual stats because I am legitimately curious like how Harold Varner is playing.
Tim, when we were on a text thread yesterday, he was telling me what a star Harold Varner III was when he was talking.
Tim was?
Yeah, because he was talking up all the live guys. He's like, don't forget he was just in a final group at the PGA Championships. Like Tim, that was 5 years ago when he shot 81.
Yeah, Harris. The numbers. You might find an enormous Harris English number, Pat.
I don't think that Harris English is going to win. I just need to. The problem is like top 5, top 10. Those numbers are not going to be related to his outright odds, unfortunately. Like 250. What's the biggest number you see? I see 250.
Yeah.
225. Yeah, that's all I got right now. Maybe here. Let's try here. English. 200, yeah, 200, 225, 250. Those are all the big numbers that I see on him. Unless he had like one good tournament. Let's not go crazy on Harris English. I just think he has a good game for this place.
And has it just been one good tournament?
Yeah. Well, he was good at Arnold Palmer, but that was all putting related. He actually played pretty well at Wells Fargo.
Okay. And yeah, I've been looking for baby signs of life. I'm going to put you on the spot, and I don't know. What are the upcoming events? Like, it's another true dead zone?
No. This is like full throttle, great events. It goes Colonial, Memorial, Canadian Open, U.S. Open.
Oh yeah, that's why no one wants to come to Canada.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're like right back on the saddle again. Wow. Okay, good. I love golf. That's fun.
Yeah, so we have another major in 4 weeks' time. We have three of my favorite tournaments sandwiched in between them. So it's a fantastic run for golf right now if like you're just kind of picking it up. So I think we're good. I've talked about everyone I want to talk about for right now. Obviously, we'll have the best bets on Tuesday with the top 10s, top 20s to make the cuts, all that fun stuff. And then Tambo and I are going to hammer everything down on Wednesday to get you prepared for the bets, the one and done, and all of the DraftKings information that you need. Play in the Listeners League, by the way. The link is down in the description. But for now, these are the guys that I'm going through. Like, they're the guys that popped up for me in the research show. They're the guys that I have money on right now, the ones who interest me. I still need to figure out what I want to do at the top. But, I got time. So you ready to get to the quick picks?
I'm ready. I'll lead them off if you want.
Go ahead. Hit me.
Okay, so... Well, shit.
You ready, were you?
I am ready. But not to be so quick. So I have my futures, as I've mentioned. I don't know if like a bet you made 10 days ago counts as a future, but it's a future. That'd be Xander at 29. Earlier, I have Finau from 35 and Cam Young, which I hate, at 50. And then some, the Fleetwood big, and the Woodland big that we spoke about. I'm the type of guy, I'll make golf futures when I win some bets. So if like some money falls out on the casino floor on some futures, like I don't miss it. That's probably silly way for me to look at it. And I should care more about the money because it was actually mine. That ain't stopped me from making bets this week. Matt Fitzpatrick, Sung J M, Patrick Cantley, Justin Thomas, not betting all of them, but those are the guys who I haven't bet on futures that I'm swimming around.
I'm looking at one site right now. Tom Kim 100, Corey Connors 150, Justin Rose 150, Gary Woodland 150. Oh my God. Sung Jae and Max 40, Hatton 40, Burns 55. Wow. Big numbers out there on some of these guys.
You bet Homa?
I did not bet. I'm not betting Homan, no.
Oh, sorry. You're just reading off numbers you're looking at.
Yeah, I was surprised that these numbers were so deep here because I've seen Morikawa as high as 40 in some spots as well, too. I'm curious to see what Spieth ends up getting to. But the 4 I have in right now, Cam Smith, 40-1. Sam Burns, 55-1. Gary Woodland, 125-1 with 8 placing. So a top 8 finish pays 1/5 of those odds. Still pretty good. And of course, Keegan Bradley at 125-1. Shortlist for me at the top: Justin Thomas, Sungjae Im, Xander Schauffele. I mean, I could theoretically bet all 3 of those guys and actually have room on my card for it. Deeper down the list, we have Denny, English, and Moronk, trying to figure out the right way to deploy those guys. But I don't know if I'm strong enough to avoid Tom Kim at 100-1.
I like Tom Kim at 100 a lot more than I like Ricky at the 80s.
Ricky was the other one that I needed to add into that list of what I want to do. It's probably not going to be outright. It's like Tommy. Like, I'm not betting Tommy outright. I need to figure out a way to deploy him. And a lot of that just might be DraftKings lineups. A head-to-head, maybe. Did you see? I texted you the bet that I won yesterday, right? The players under par.
Oh, love that.
Wasn't
Oh
even
my
close.
God. What a great prop. You should tell the people. Maybe it was on your card this week, but I didn't know it till you showed it to me yesterday.
It wasn't. Someone actually tweeted it to me last week.
Great bet.
Yeah, I thought because they changed the par at the Byron Nelson from 72 to 71. And I still ran the math on it, and it was players to finish under par for the tournament. And it was like, under whatever. There was like a middle range. Then it was over 75. I think like 109 guys finished. It was plus 150. I was like, man, and maybe I'm getting screwed on this somehow, but this feels like the freest money possible. I'm kind of upset I didn't bet more on it. But
I mean, when 100 guys when you beat the number by like 30 players, yeah, you probably feel like I should have bet more.
Yeah, I need to start digging into more of these like prop markets because sometimes there are some pretty soft numbers out there.
You know what? I say that to myself all the time. Like, there's so many choose your own adventures in the golf betting ecosystem that you could probably crush and find soft numbers. It's like, when there's 150 college basketball games on a Saturday. I don't bet college basketball. It's not my thing, but I could see how the guys that do that within that huge ecosystem of it, like, can find some real stale shit. But I'm just too absorbed. I'm all absorbed. Gotta change some lanes sometime.
One and done picks for our 3-man. Of course, we'll hammer down on the one and done a little bit more on Wednesday's show with Tambo as we talk through the strategy. Tim has already selected Dustin Johnson. I will be taking Cameron Smith.
Have I used Xander Schauffele?
Yes, you used him at the Masters.
What a guy.
Hey, you got you $432,000. Do you think that Tim is mad at Cam Young because he didn't win the match play when Tim picked him?
I don't know how Tim holds on to that. Have I used Sungjae Im?
Yes, you used him at the Farmers Insurance Open.
Give me Matthew Fitzpatrick.
What if I told you you've used him?
Then I would be surprised, but I'll just have to say another name.
No, you have not used Matthew Fitzpatrick. You're good.
Okay.
That will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. We got more shows coming at you. We already have 2 shows out. This will make 3, Tuesday and Wednesday. We got the best bets on Tuesday, the final picks, bets, DraftKings ownership, and picks, all coming Wednesday with Tambo. So please go check that out. Check out his new site as well. Smash the like while you're here. You can ask a question down in the comment section. I'll be answering those on Monday evening. I'll be doing the same thing for the best bets and the same thing for the DraftKings show this week. I want to interact a little bit more, and you can get in the draw for the $600 giveaway plus a membership to FantasyNational.com. First of all, you need to be a member at FantasyNational.com. So if you're already a member, congratulations, you're already in the draw. If you do one of the other things as well, but if you're not a member as of yet, FantasyNational.com/Mayo get you 20% off. Choose the weekly, it's $8, and boom, you'll be good to go on that front. Plus, you get to use all of the information at your disposal, all the stats, all the information, all the tools to help you get ahead. And then, leave the rating and review. 15 ballots apiece for Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, download. You don't have to listen if you don't want to. But hey, if you're here already, you might as well listen. Okay, you can follow Geoff on Twitter at gfienberg17. Follow me at the PME. And if you retweet any of the PGA Championship tweets, you get 1 ballot in the draw for each time that you do it. So please go do that right now. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck this week. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!